Hello, welcome. Well, that's what I'm gonna say. Welcome to the door. To our shaking. Hello, guys. Welcome to Door to Our Lives with
Kim.
Shay.
Yeah, Shay and Kim.
Is it? It's Kim and Shay.
Kim and Shay.
One more time.
With us. Okay, let's go. We're gonna do it again. Okay. You ain't gotta cut this either, John. This is like these learning curves we've been talking about. Okay.
I ain't no good.
All right, guys. Welcome to Door to Our Lives with
Kim
and Shay.
Shay.
Thank you so much for stopping by, for joining us. Today's topic, we are going to speak on family.
Family.
We all know how important family is or should be to each and every one of us. So we most definitely are going to have a conversation, kind of give you our background on our families, what it is we do, how many children, all of those great things. So Kimberly, do you want to start talking about your family?
Oh, wait, first, I think it's very important that we do a retraction from one of our previous videos because Shay made a very major mistake.
I did.
She did. So, you want to correct yourself?
I do want to correct myself. So when I talked about my children, I forgot to mention my baby Kendall. She is very much my baby. She is very much my other daughter. I would never, ever, ever purposely leave her out. So there's 3 girls.
3 girls.
And 2 boys.
2 boys, yeah, because she checked her on that one.
Yes,
so,
she did.
I told her, I said,
did.
I would make sure that Shay did a retraction. So that's what that was. So there, again, but that all leads us to family and how important it is, right?
Yes.
Like, all of us have a role, and even because Kendall actually made you a mom in a sense
First
because
time.
she's Kendall's godmother,
Yes.
and she hadn't had Jaden yet, so Kendall was her first baby.
Yes.
So
and was with me
yeah,
all the time.
right? So again, ties into the topic, so it's actually kind of perfect.
It is.
So if I'm gonna start, let me see. Where do you think we should start? Like the beginning?
Yeah, like the beginning, kind of speaking. Maybe we could talk about our parents.
Okay.
The type of family we were raised in. Everything is not always peaches and cream, so I think we should just be honest and kind of put it on the table.
Definitely honest. Y'all saw me correct my wig.
Yeah. Start with that.
Well, you know, I do honest and transparent really
you
well.
You most definitely do.
So that's easy. So I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
My mom's name was Neva. My dad's name was David, and my dad, and I think I mentioned this in our introduction. My dad had 13 kids. My mom had 9. They only had 2 together. When my sister and I were born, my dad was actually married to someone else. So my mama was what we would call now today the side chick, or one of many side chicks, because my dad actually had 3 groups of children while he was married to my stepmother, who had no children by him. She had no children.
She didn't have any biological children
by him. His first 2 sons, Johnny and David Jr., were born. They had the same mom, and then Robin, Lynn, and Mike, they had the same mom. And it's my understanding, and if any of you guys watch this and I get anything wrong, my apologies. But so it's just my understanding that their mom passed, and when their mom passed, my sister Robin was maybe 2.
Okay.
And he married my stepmother, who basically then raised them.
Okay.
And while he was married to her, he had my sister and I, my younger sister and I, who my younger sister is the youngest out of all of the kids on both my mom and my dad's side.
Okay.
He had the 2 of us, but I also had 2 brothers and a sister, David, Kendall, and Karen, who all had the same mom. And then Sharon and Eleanor, they had the same mom. So
all of this was in the midst of you all.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So when I say my mom was she was the side chick, and there were 2 other side chicks. I don't know who took preference or any of those other things. So real dysfunctional. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom suffered with major depression and different mental illnesses and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of rough. It was kind of rough. So family for me ended up being my best friends.
Yeah.
So those positive types of things came from those people.
But do you feel like growing up in that, it affected relationships, whether with spouses that you may have had, your children, all of those types of things?
Absolutely. In regards to parenting, I distinctly remember a time, and I have trauma-based memory loss, so I don't remember large portions of my childhood, probably until maybe late middle school. Um, but I remember us being evicted from one place because we were homeless back and forth all the time, living with different people. And I remember being us being evicted from an apartment complex, and we were staying in a hotel. And I remember 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when you stayed in a hotel, you didn't have to pay up front, right? You had to pay when you leave. So I remember my mom taking me and my sister out, sneaking us out of the hotel. Really, really early in the morning, and me standing across the street at the bus stop thinking to myself at maybe in the 6th grade saying, I'm never doing this to my children.
Wow.
And because of that, as a parent, I had extreme anxiety around moving and change. Like my girls were like at one point, and they knew it because I vocalized it, right? Like this, it terrifies me not to know where I'm going to be.
Yes.
And that we're going to be safe and we're going to be secure.
Not to have this stability.
Not to have this stability, like not to know. So, you know, I don't play with like where we going to live and that kind of stuff. Like, right? We can play with a whole lot of things, but where we going to live is not one of them. So yeah, it definitely affected me. And because my parents were, very hands off, do what you want to do. You know, like if I didn't want to go to school, my mom wasn't gonna make me go to school. My daddy just whatever, right? You know, he doing his thing. But so,
how often was your dad in your life?
Like I saw him all the time.
Okay.
See, unlike some of my other sets of siblings, who didn't necessarily do that. My mom would let us go to my dad's house. Okay. So my stepmother would watch us on the weekends and school holidays and all those kind of things. She would keep us. Okay. So she would keep my sister and I, my younger sister and I. And so I saw him all the time. And then when I was 7th grade, I went to go live with him because my mom and my sister went to Kansas. Okay. And I didn't go, and I stayed there. And I think she came back.
And it was you wanting to stay for school?
Just because, you know, just kind of being in one spot or whatever. It was crazy.
Not having to move again type of stuff.
Yeah, kind of crazy. But, you know, she had taken us up there once before and snuck us out. It was, girl, it's a whole lot. I got a whole bunch of podcast topics we can just cover on my life alone. Right. So, yeah, those things. But those definitely, from a security aspect, it definitely had an impact on how I dealt with my children. Okay. And because they weren't very involved, I was super involved. Yeah. I'm here. Where are we going? What you doing? Who you talking to? Yeah. Let's go. Such and such and such. Very, very involved. Because of that. Because I wanted to be present. I always wanted to be present, and I wanted them to know beyond a shadow of doubt they were my priority. Here. Yeah. As far as relationships, the boys will be boys mentality stuck in my head a lot. So I actually had and probably still have quite a few daddy issues. So I dealt with things that I shouldn't have dealt with, you know, cheating husbands, like repeatedly girl, that Derek Cooksey, Jesus.
We just gonna put his name out there.
Derek Cooksey. That devil, right? Love that. People say, what happened? I always just say he loved women. He loved women and probably still do. From my understanding. I was gonna say, from my understanding, he still does. But that's not my problem anymore. So yeah, but you know, I forgave a lot of things. But again, once I got going to therapy and stuff, I realized that it was because that's what I had saw. I saw my
that was familiar.
Yeah, it was familiar. My stepmother knew that my dad had these children outside of the house. They could come to the house. She'd watch them.
Take care of them.
You know, my mom knew that he had a wife. Yeah. You know, it so that I realized kind of shaped how I thought about relationships and a need to be chosen. Yeah. Because he never chose us, right? Yeah. So he didn't choose us. He didn't choose us because we were homeless and we were hungry and we didn't have clothes and all of those things. But if you lived in his house,
he was going to take care of you while you were there.
He was going to take care of you while you were there. Yeah. So I was never chosen. So I really fought through relationships that I shouldn't have in order to be chosen. Does it make sense?
Makes sense. That most definitely makes sense. And then did it make just your communication with your children kind of um, discipline, or is a lot of that different from your raising, or do you think you took a lot of that on raising
No,
your children?
I think it was definitely different because again, um, like for instance, when I moved to Houston and decided I wasn't going to high school, my mom was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Where my kids, I remember once my oldest daughter was like, I'm not going to college. I hate school. And I lost my dang mind. I will run you over with this truck before I see you not XYZ. Do you know I lived in the Kelly course and carried clothes on my back to the washer for you to be such and such and such and such? There is no way. So definitely was like, no, I'm not letting you do what you want to do because, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, but at the same time, there were different events, and we'll talk about some of those other things again, that I reverted to what I knew, where I should have maybe said, I know I should not, can't even say maybe, I should have handled things differently. Some things that were traumatic for my children, I should have handled differently. But because my coping mechanism as a little girl was to just be quiet, it happened, I can't change it, let's go on.
Yeah. Move past it.
Let's move past it, right? I used that strategy because that's what I knew. And that hurt my daughters.
Yeah.
That hurt my daughters. You know, and there's still like some guilt associated with that because I know that affected them.
Yeah. And I think as children, you don't really realize until you get older, like, man, that kind of affected me when my parent did this, or when they did this certain kind of way. You notice it more. I think it's almost like it's magnified as an adult. You're like, I never really thought about that, but that affected me.
Yeah.
Like I can tell in my life.
Yeah.
That affected me.
And that's what therapy kind of opened those doors for me. Therapy opened those doors for me to start seeing some of those things and seeing how the ways that I coped with things as a little girl actually affected how I made decisions as a mom, how I made decisions as a wife, how I made decisions as, you know, whatever, and how I responded to those. So again, if I was in a more healed place as a parent, and I was young, you know, I had my oldest daughter at 19, and by the time I was 27, I had the five kids. So I was still really young, and I hadn't started like healing.
Yeah,
nowhere near healing. You know, there were some things that I had come to grips with, but I didn't know the depths of it.
Okay.
So yeah, those things actually affected a lot of things.
So I'm not sure if the audience know that you're biracial.
Oh yeah, I'm biracial. My mom was white. My dad was kind of black. I say he was kind of black because I did the DNA, the ancestry thing. And I'm like, how the heck I end up being 67%? My black daddy? Like black daddy. I need an ass, right? Like black daddy, help me out here. No, but I grew up in black neighborhood. Yeah. I grew up around black people. So for the longest time, the only white people I knew were my mom and my teachers. Yeah. Right? So because even her older 7 kids were all white. So they're all white, but I didn't grow up with them because she suffered with mental illness. She left some of them with their dad when the baby was 2, just walked away from them. One she left with a babysitter, and the state ended up taking them, and she ended up being adopted. One had passed away. Well, I read her journals and found out some additional stuff about that. But so there were just different things. So I didn't grow up with them. So I didn't know white people. Yeah. I didn't know white people.
Why don't anybody look like you?
Nobody. Yeah, I knew it was a thing. It was so funny is that when Kaya my oldest was about 5 years old, and we lived in the Kelly Course, which is a project here in Houston. Yeah. We lived in the projects here in Houston while I was getting my GED. But she came inside crying. And she was like, they call my grandma white. And I'm like, baby, your grandma is white. Your grandma is white. And she was like, she's not white. And I'm like, she is absolutely white. Like, very seriously white. So definitely, yeah. Yeah. So that was weird because until I moved to Houston, I really didn't have relationships with white people. And has, you know,
So I know that because of that, as an adult, how's your relationships with
white
your white
people.
siblings
Oh no, white people in
and your
general.
black siblings?
Well, my white siblings, or we'll just call them my mom's
Your
children.
mom's
My mom's
children,
children.
yes.
My mom's children. Um, three of my sisters, I talk to enough. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So one of my sisters is Belinda. She was in the army. She was actually married to a black man, so she has a biracial son. And then the one who was put up for adoption, her name is Belinda. She actually found us. So we kind of communicate, and then there's Paula, and we communicate via Facebook and different things.
Okay.
Paula and I were getting really, really close at one point, and then she lost her husband because I found her on Facebook, and she lost her husband, and it kind of just put her in a different place.
Yeah.
So I kind of regret not, being able to pick that relationship back up. But she has daughters that I kind of talk to again via Facebook.
Well,
We communicate via Facebook sometimes, not as often as I like, but I wouldn't have a problem talking to them now. Two of her other children, I don't have any communication with. And I just think that's because, again, my mom walked off and left them, right? She walked off and left them.
So there's a lot of feelings.
Yeah, the youngest one did reach out when my mom passed and said, my condolences, that kind of thing. And she sent me a couple pictures that she had from somewhere, but we don't really, talk or anything like that, just because, again, I know there has got to be large amounts of trauma.
Yeah, for sure.
Associated with that, because me and one of my sisters actually had that conversation, and she was like, well, she stayed with you guys. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a double-edged sword, though.
Yeah.
Because where you were with your dad and your family, and you guys were, I'm sure you had your own set of issues, but you had somewhere to live, and you were eating, where we were homeless and hungry and without lights and water and all the other kind of horrible things that can happen to children when they're staying with strangers.
Yes.
So, it's kind of double-edged sword, but, again, it's definitely a relationship that I wish, we could have picked back up, because I think she's amazing. She's a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's always got pictures on Facebook at the Chiefs games and stuff. So I follow what she's doing and her girls and stuff very, very closely.
Okay, well, that's good.
It is. Now, with my dad's children, most of the children that I grew up with were already older than me. Yeah. Much older than me.
Y'all were a lot younger.
Yeah, so Jimmy and Junior were already grown. They already had kids when I was born. Robin, Lynn, and Mike. Mike, I think I just talked to him the other day on my birthday. Was 14 when I was born. I was like, you were 14 when I was born? It was kind of crazy. So, but I remember being a teenager and going to his house with his wife in the summertime. We would go down there sometimes. So we had to, in a lot of ways, some of them felt more like my aunts and my uncles than my brothers and sisters. Yeah. And as far as the group of the three, the three groups that we were all born while my dad was married, my brother Kendall and John, they would come over and they kind of hung out. They were like drinking buddies with my dad, basically. And their sister, our sister Karen, I've never met her in person. I've only talked to her maybe twice. And then Sharon and Eleanor passed away, and Sharon, I talked to her sometimes, not a whole lot. But again, different relationships, different scenarios. I didn't really get to know them until we were major, really adults. Like really, really adults. Okay. So it's weird.
Yeah, for sure. And then the age gap probably played a big part in that as well. You and your baby sister. You all were raised together.
We were.
So how did that stem? Do you feel like being raised the way you guys were raised, did it affect your relationship with your sister? Being that you were literally the only two that weren't together with your mom.
All the time, yeah. We were always together. We were the only two. With each other?
Yes. Or do you feel like it changed? It may have changed as you got older.
It changed this week. I love my sister. Like, there is no doubt. Like, even now, and my sister, full disclosure, she and I do not talk regularly at this point. We can go into that at a different podcast. The where's in the house. But if something serious was going on, I put my damn tennis shoes on.
Oh, I already know
You
it.
know I would, right? Like I
already
put
know
my
it.
tennis shoes on. I'd be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, right? I ain't talked to you in 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
but let's go.
But we not gonna do this.
We not gonna do that, right? But I think, of course, it does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we come from a dysfunctional place where I think I feel safe saying that I don't think that my mother made my sister feel loved.
Okay.
I think that their personalities were so similar that they
Yes.
bumped heads from the time she was born, probably, right?
Yeah.
Because their personalities were so similar. And I think that just caused some. And then me, I'm a fixer, so I'm gonna let you do like whatever I need to do to make you be okay. If I need to shrink to let you shine, I'll do that. If I need to whatever, I'll do that. And I think I did that for a very, very long time and kind of not said anything until I couldn't not say anything anymore, or at least bare minimum say this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it did.
Yeah. I
did.
most definitely can see that. And again, we'll go into more of that later.
What about you? So you let me talk. So you see
Yes,
how she do
I
that,
did.
and then I always say I talk too much, y'all. This is why, because she be asking these questions.
Okay, we have to share the floor.
So go.
So I was raised by my mom, Teresa, and my stepdad. I don't even like to use the word stepdad, because that was my dad, Clarence. My biological father is Nathaniel. He was in prison until I was almost 17.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was in prison until I was almost 17. I did not know him outside of prison.
Honestly, I don't think I knew that Clarence was your stepdad until you just said it. Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's go.
Never knew him outside of prison. Now, my biological dad has always been in my life.
Okay.
Just on a different level, because he was in prison. He went to prison. My mom found out she was pregnant with me after he went to prison.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and he was that guy that my grandmother didn't like. My grandfather didn't like him. He was on drugs. He was selling drugs. He was in gangs. Like, even now, my dad his birthday just passed, and he's 74, 70, 74, 73, 74. And people know who he is in St. Louis. Like, that's the kind.
And that's the thing. You're from St. Louis.
Yes, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. We moved here when I was 5, I think. Never ever missed a summer. All of my Christmas, summer, I was like, bye, school out. I'm going with my people. Like, I was devastated that you would bring me here with this old man, because my dad was a lot older than my mom. He was like 12 years older than her. So my mom was like 28, and he was like 40 or something.
Yeah.
Like,
and that seems old to a kid.
Yeah, to a kid. Like, why are you with this old man and you're bringing me here? Like, it was a little bit of a transition for me. Me and my cousin Eric were so close that, like, my mom was like, y'all went through a whole depression. Like, it was horrible. They had to fly him here for him to spend time with me. Just so happened one of the times that he flew, Aunt Lisa came to get him and met my dad's cousin.
Okay.
They got married, and all of us stayed here in Houston. Crazy.
Like, thank God.
So Uncle Panu and my dad were cousins, first cousins.
Okay.
So I think that was just God.
That was definitely God.
Let me
like,
get her cousin here.
Are gonna have a heart attack.
But I most definitely have an. Okay, I'm gonna go back. So, being younger, we moved here. That was very difficult for me, not being with my family.
And you were the only child at this point?
The only child.
Okay.
For 10 years. Only child for 10 years. They were told they couldn't have any kids, probably. So they adopted my middle brother, Kenneth. And I think we adopted Kenneth, and we had his sister. Her name was Jewel. But we had both of them. There was a lot of issues, abusive issues. He was malnutrition, and he was 3. He couldn't talk. He couldn't go to the bathroom. He wouldn't eat. Like, it was crazy. And I remember when he first started school, he would tell people, "My mama picked me out of a book," because you would literally look through a book and be like, "Well, I want to spend time with this child."
Oh wow.
And he was so skinny, like you know how Ethiopian stomachs stick out and you have the ribs, and I would be like, "Mom, why you pick him?" She was like, "Shay."
Couldn't have picked a
Yes,
kid
yes.
that had.
That's
like,
why I say Jada is my child, because I literally would be like, "Nah, this," and I'm like 10. This ain't gonna work for me.
I gotta tell people,
And
my
you,
brother, look at his belly.
look at his belly, and then he don't want you to touch him, like he would freak out. But then, as I get older and learn the different thing, how they abused him in the foster system, and they wouldn't feed him. Like, how do y'all leave these babies? You know, and then Jewel ended up getting abused physically a lot because she was a darker child. So these foster parents would like beat her with wet towels with rocks in them, and with it was just insane the stuff I found out. Then you had the foster dads who would molest, you know, just different things like that. So I thought it was amazing that my mom and dad felt like we're gonna take these children in. The issue ended up being that his sister, because of all the molestation, it was just a lot. So we ended up taking her to this place called the Pelchin.
Okay.
She went there. We still visited her all the time. The sad thing with the foster system is when you turn 18,
You're out.
we're going to give you this little check. We're going to give you a bus pass. And you need to go figure it out.
Yep.
I thought that was so devastating.
It is.
Like, where's she going? She don't know none of her people. Crazy. So she ended up finding their people who were mostly on drugs, prostitutes, those type of things. Kenny ended up staying with us. She would still come visit some. She still called my mom. She still, you know, it was a lot. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so growing up, I think I had one of the most amazing childhoods growing up.
Now I know we've talked about this before. How did, because you got from your dad basically anything you wanted.
Yeah. Pretty much.
How did that affect you as a parent?
Okay. I think that people feel like if you have this amazing life and you get all the stuff, that you're perfect, like nothing's going wrong, or you're not, it's not going to affect you. But because of that, because so much in my eyesight was right, when I couldn't give that to my children, it weighed on me so heavily that I would become depressed and upset, and I would have so much anxiety about not being able to give my kids the life that I had, or to give them when they wanted something, or you know, their necessities were pretty much always, but when they wanted something extra, I literally could say, "Dad, I want that over there." My mom would be like, "That is insane," and my dad would be like, "We gonna figure it out." So to me, that's what I needed for my kids. I needed my kids to have a father that was like, whatever you want. Or I needed my kids to always feel so secure that nothing would go wrong, which is probably not the best thing that you want for your children, because they need to understand that that's not how life works. Life is not going to be that for you all the time. And so I felt like as an adult and parenting my children, Kim and I have talked about this. She says because of her lack of caused her, but because I had caused me to be so stressed out and under so much anxiety, because I'm like, I'm failing them. That's my thought a lot. Even now, I'm better though.
Yeah, because I'm like, just say no.
Therapy has literally, I most definitely feel like it did a lot to me in that sense. My dad ended up on drugs for 3 years. And I remember telling Kim, but I don't remember a lot of it. I don't know if it's because, what did you say it's called?
It's trauma. Like you just memory loss associated with trauma.
I kind of remember being upset with him a little bit. Kind of our relationship shifted, but never thinking he was on drugs. Like, I don't know if I just blocked all that out or was just like, I don't want to remember. But I was like, he's my hero. What do you mean? Like, on drugs? What is that? But he was on drugs. I think that was the first time we ever lost anything. I remember thinking, Mom, where's my stuff that was in storage? She was like, girl.
I remember. Okay, let me say that. So I remember you saying that you felt like she hid a lot of it from you for a very long time.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I think they were always like, your children, you don't need to know anything.
Mm-hmm.
She would tell me he was at work because he did have his own company before he got on drugs. So he was at work or he was off doing stuff. So in my mind, that's what he's doing. So to accept as an adult that my dad was on drugs, I was like, what you mean? What was he doing on drugs? You know.
So having her cover for him,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think that has affected your relationships? Let's say with John
Mm-hmm.
or your previous marriage, because you've been married.
Yes.
This is your second marriage. So
Yes.
how do you think having her seeing her cover for him,
Yeah.
or knowing that she covered for him in all of these crazy things,
Yeah.
how do you think that played a role in how you deal with situations in your marriage? Do you cover for John?
No. I don't, and that's probably why I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Did you cover for Landry?
I did.
Okay, so you did.
And I think from that, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Like, you need to be a big boy. This is what you're doing. Then this is what you. And I think you protect them, but not so much that they're oblivious. And then something happens, and they're just like, my whole world is. Because I think that's kind of what happened with me. Like, because our parents, if you think about it, our parents will, most parents in the African American community are like, they don't need to know nothing. They're children. They don't ask me no questions. You need it. Everything is going to be perfect all the time. Until I got married the first time, I had no idea my mom and daddy really fought. I think I might have seen them argue a little bit here and there.
And they out in the backyard
Yeah,
rolling around
yeah.
in the dirt. Not literally. I'm playing.
Yeah.
I'm playing.
Had no idea. And she was like, Shay, our marriage was not perfect. So although I feel like kids don't need to know everything,
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like they need to know the reality of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know that you fight. They need to know that there's issues and how you deal with the issues. They need to know that you can come back from whatever
Mm-hmm.
that was. But when you're not seeing anything, you think that's how it's supposed to be. I remember with John, he would be like, I'm not your dad. Because my expectations is that you are who he is. How are you not that to my children? How are you not that to me? How are you not? Because my dad would, he was like, I'm not your daddy.
I ain't your daddy. Like, stop picking that.
But, and he would say that, I'd be like, boy, I don't think you're my dad. But after going to therapy, although I felt like I wasn't, it is. It's some stuff that I loved about him that I felt like I needed from him.
Mm-hmm.
And who would you think, because I had an amazing stepdad, that you don't have daddy issues? And that is so
because you still had a dad who was in prison.
Yes.
And who was not present for
Exactly.
17 years.
Yes.
So even if you got double daddy issues, I didn't even have a dad. I only had one dad, but my daddy was a handful. So I
had a bunch of issues.
I got a lot of them, but I was like, dang, when you think about it, you got stepdaddy issues and daddy issues, girl.
Yeah,
so I can see that.
And with my biological dad, I don't know, he just wasn't honest all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I will credit him that he was going to make it be known that he loved me. And his family, always there. There was never a summer I wouldn't even want to go. And my mom and my grandmother, my mom's mom, would be like, you're going. Go visit your dad. Go visit your grandma on that side. Like, go visit. Like, I have an amazing relationships with my cousins on my dad's side. My aunts, my uncles, like, I spent as much time with them as I did with my mom's people. So I'm so grateful that my mom didn't let me just be like, nope, I don't want to do it. Going to the prison got old. Like, I don't want to go.
Yeah, I would not. That I'd have been like, look,
I don't want to go.
I ain't commit no crimes. I ain't coming.
Like,
that's on you.
I don't want to do this all the time.
Like, why are we doing time with him?
Yeah.
Like, why is we doing time with him? We ain't do nothing.
So you're taking
Like,
me from my cousins.
I'm going to go play.
To go drive to Jefferson City. To go sit in here for 4 hours. Usually, Dad, you know I love you. Usually.
Yeah, this is not about love now. We love all y'all.
Yeah.
We're talking about
it was another woman that was there to visit you. And I just rode. Whether it was with my grandmother before she passed or my aunt, you always had another woman. Nobody really understood how that affected me.
Yeah, because then again, you're not chosen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me with the thing, but it's kind of the same thing if you think about it. Like you're not choosing me.
Yeah.
I'm here piggybacking on a visit for someone you really want to see.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of your attention is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I'm quiet, like I can remember one of the visits we had, and it was with my, I have a little sister and brother, they're twins, Ayana and Amani. And I remember going with their mom. Their mom was younger than my dad. And I was like, really? And my family on that side is very verbal. They're going to say whatever.
How your daddy have how much younger than you are they? Like 2 months?
No. They're
because if he went to
they're 35. No, she got pregnant while he was in there.
Oh. Okay. All right.
So, they be figuring it out.
They obviously did. That's like interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah. While he was locked up, she got pregnant. And they got married while he was in there and all that good stuff. So I remember going one visit and I was sitting like this on this chair because there's chairs, it's like vending machines, games, all kind of stuff. But it's people everywhere, everybody kissing, and it was just a lot. It was because it was prison, so you had more interaction because my dad literally was supposed to be gone forever. Like he was supposed to die there.
Wow.
So I'm just sitting and I remember him saying, "Girl, what's wrong with you? Why are you sitting there nothing?" But even now, at almost 50, I remember feeling like, why?
Why am I here?
Yeah, why am I here?
Like, you here to talk. They're here for you. Like, y'all just drug me along. Like,
I'm literally, why my little bitty self? First off, if my grandmother went, she was a little more interactive with me. But my aunts would be visiting other people there. Some woman would be visiting him. And so I'm really just here.
To hold a spot.
Yeah, to say that I came to visit you. Or for you to say, here's my baby girl. Hey. And at the time I was a baby. So it was on his side. So it was just a lot. And then when he finally did get out, he still wasn't out mentally. So he would still do stuff. He still wouldn't show up. He still would kind of not be honest about everything. And I don't know, my mouth is really kind of my mouth. And so I'd be like, no, you owe me. Like, and I'm very honest about how I felt. And he used to be like, why are you like that? Because of you. That's why. To see the transition in him, when he got out and stayed out, I was probably 19. He actually walked me down the aisle. Mm-hmm. My dad passed the year before I got married the first time. He walked me down the aisle the next year. And I remember him asking me if Clarence was here, would I walk you down the aisle?
No.
And I was like, no. But he's not.
So here we are.
So let's do it. My relationship with him was always good enough where we would communicate, and I love him and all of that. But probably I've been with John probably 17 years now. I think. So probably the last 20 years, 18 years, it has been amazing. My dad got saved. His life literally, people say I get saved and still live the same life. My dad got saved and his life literally
turned around.
Look at that. Like, he runs a home where he helps ex-offenders, ex-drug addicts. He houses them. He teaches them. He does Bible study with them. He teaches them how to get jobs. Like,
we might need him on the podcast. I'm telling you.
He's amazing. Like, he's done news stories. He's been in newspapers. Like, they giving him accolades. I am so extremely proud of this man. It is crazy. Um, and to just see, and I mean, he's Nathaniel, so he always has his little ways. We laugh at him all the time because he does nothing for himself. Because all of his life, everybody did stuff for him. But the most amazing person. Everything that I wanted him to be for me, he is for my kids.
That's good.
He's not gonna miss a birthday. He's gonna check on them. He might not cash app you. He gonna send it to Walmart. You gonna
Like,
have to
come
go
on,
get it.
Why are we doing it? Like no,
Yes,
unless you're in
yes.
another country,
Yes, why are
Walmart
we
is not
doing
the
this?
way.
But he most definitely is gonna show up, and so I love that about him. My dad that raised me, I will never, ever, ever take anything from him. Those 3 years, I don't remember. All I remember is the good. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think it's good. It's your mind. The way the therapists have always explained to me, it's just your mind. The way our minds protect us. It's the way our minds
From the
protect us.
trauma of that.
It's a protection. It's a protective mechanism.
He reached out to my biological dad. My biological dad reached out to him. They were able to be cordial. My biological dad thanked him. Like, I feel like that's a mature relationship.
Yeah.
You have so many broken homes where the other parent get an attitude and like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Why you mad?
And this is the thing. I've said this to a couple of my girlfriends, and I honestly feel this way too. What harm is it that you have another person who loves your child?
Yes. If they're not hurting,
if they're not hurting, if you have another person who loves your child, why would you take that from your kid?
Yeah.
More than anything, why would you take that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Why would you take that from your kid?
Because you're angry.
Because you're angry,
yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, it's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because like even with my children with their dads, so I had 5 biological kids and 3 biological kids' dads. Mm-hmm. So my oldest 2 girls have the same dad. Mm-hmm. Dennis was on drugs, and Lord have mercy, Dennis was on drugs. Dennis is still on drugs. Honestly, Dennis is still on drugs. Been in and out of prison their whole lives. But Dennis loves his girls. Loves them. When he's clean, he tries to find them. Yeah. To the point where now even he gets on their nerves because he still's like, Daddy's little baby, and they're like, we're 30 years old, dude, like whatever. But he tries to find them. So I never had a problem with Dennis. Mm. Then there's Sierra. I call her my single because her dad, I got pregnant with her on birth control. So her dad's passed away now. But then there's Demetria and Patrick. They have the same dad, Richard. Now, my problem with Richard is that Richard doesn't have an addiction, but he also doesn't have a relationship with his children. Yeah. So there's no excuse. Yeah, that's an issue. That's an issue for me. Yeah. Because if what's keeping you from your children is your wife, because in the beginning, and you probably remember this, in the beginning, it was like, you don't want me to deal with him? I don't want to deal with him. That's fine. You couldn't have him if I didn't want him anyway. So, if I wanted him anyway. So, I'll deal with you. I'll arrange pickups with you. Whatever. Because I don't talk to him anyway. Yeah. So, we can arrange pickups. We can arrange drop-off. We can do all of that. But she was very funky because one of my daughters got hurt once, and I remember calling her, and 20-some-year-old Kim was much different than 53-year-old Kim. Yeah. So I called and I was like, hey, they're taking her to the hospital. She's in an ambulance. They're doing this. And this girl's like maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. This girl told me, oh, well, he gets off at work at 3, and I'll tell him when he gets home. And I was like, you cuss word, better have him he need to be at the hospital within an hour or I'm going to beat your ass. Right? Period. If he's not at effing hospital, I am going to beat your behind because this is not okay. Yeah. Right? Now, mind you, he was there. and my brothers were there, and my aunts was there, and my nieces and stuff were on the phone, and everybody's coming. His parents are there. But why do I have to threaten you
in order to
get you to for a major emergency? So it was just stuff like that that I finally was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with you. So if you want to contact them, so when they got old enough where they had their own cell phones and things, it was like, here are their cell phone numbers. Call them. You talk to them.
Yeah.
You do those things. Because that's one thing. But when it came to them, oh baby, it's some people in this world will be like, she crazy, y'all. She crazy. She is insane. But no, I'm not anymore. Thank God. Thank God for salvation. So yeah, those things, kind of affected, because I was like, how dare you not show up?
Yeah.
But again, like you said, hey, you had two people love, like, why wouldn't you have two people who loved you?
Yeah.
Like, why not add that additional person? Oh, he gets married. If she loves you too, great. Like, are y'all picking her up?
Yeah.
Like, come get her.
I'll send some stuff if you want me to.
Who's taking her to go do whatever? Like, what time are y'all going to give me? Like, I never have understood that with people. Yeah. So that's amazing that they were able to do that.
They were really good about that. So I'm solely grateful. I think when it comes to my children, like I was saying, I kind of, I think I steal certain stuff you don't need to know, but I also find myself being a lot more open with them, because I don't want you to be blindsided by anything. I don't want you to feel like, Mom, why would you?
So I know so that was them. So I know you, like, again, Jaden's biological dad.
Yes.
You guys were married.
Yep. Legally 12 years, together for 10.
Okay.
So I got married pretty young. Don't suggest it. But hey, it works for some people.
It worked.
But I got married pretty young. I think I was 20. I got married the month I was turning 21.
And I know you said that you did do the hide things from, kind of protecting and kind of a lot of those things. So you
trying to keep her from feeling like she wasn't wanted. She wasn't. And the funny thing is, as much as I hid and protected, she still felt like that.
Yeah.
So me lying or me.
But a lot of that was afterwards too, because after and a lot of us, I know everybody who knew you and knew him, and I was there before Jaden, so I remember the thrill.
Yes.
And he was like, "This is my baby," such. So after the divorce, when he kind of just disappeared, basically ghosted her.
Yeah.
Everybody, I can speak for myself. I was in shock.
But everybody was. Everybody kept saying, "What do you mean?
What do you mean he's not seeing her, calling her, and he doesn't want, How did you navigate?
I think first off, anytime you go through a divorce, it's devastating. Nobody wants to do that. So it took me a minute.
Because you grieve.
I grieved.
You grieve the all the what ifs.
Yeah.
You grieve the dream of the happily ever after. You grieve that because that's what you wanted.
In our time, it's hard to find somebody. Like Jaden was both of our first child.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the baby mamas. I didn't have, it was both of our first child. We both were really young. And we were friends. Like, we did a lot together. So I think I had to grieve that. And hearing her, because she was so young.
Yeah.
Hearing her be like, "Where's my daddy? And when my daddy?" I go to a store if a guy tried to talk to me or something. "Mama, where's my daddy at?" Jaden. So I think just trying to deal with all of that, it was a lot. And so then you have people that like to make you seem like you've done all this horrible stuff. And in all the time that we were separated, before we even got divorced, I never, ever said anything bad about him. Ever. Oh, it was a bunch of stuff I wanted to say. Never said anything.
How do you introduce that part? Because I think with the back, you know what I'm saying? Because I have, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about adoption and that kind of stuff, but I have some of those times where I'm thinking, I just be wanting to say, "Look, she trifling as shit."
Yeah, facts.
They try. The both of them. Like both of these bio people are
Yes.
trifling as hell.
Yes.
Like, there's no excuse for this. Like, you know, I struggle with that now. Again, it was easier, I think, because I did, you know, I tried not to say anything negative, and if I'm wrong, girls, and I did, you know,
Yeah,
any of you guys correct me, please. I'm fine, but I think I always tried to be very, like, hey, they love you, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's
you know?
basically where I was with it. He loves you. We're gonna pray for your dad. You know, don't worry about it. It's not you. You know, we're just gonna wait for dad to get it together. You know, that was my thing. So then when
So you think part of that was affected by how your mom handled situations with your stepdad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with that. You know, and then you still have those people in your life that you envy. You look up to my mom, my aunt, my girl. You know, don't ever say anything. You know, and not that they meant harm, but to them, that's what you're supposed to do. Just be quiet. Don't make her, let her figure it out, which she did. She most definitely figured it out. And now that she hears his other family members say, it's two sides to every story. You don't know what this, and she be like, wait a minute, because my mama never said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've learned
from his
because
actions.
he did it.
It's from his action. He showed me those things, and I think one of the things I'm learning too is like verbiage is important.
Yes.
Because I talked to the kids as therapists about that, and it was like, maybe describe it like, so we're always talking about stranger danger. So no, we don't talk stranger danger. We talk safe and unsafe. Mm-hmm. So there are people. So now when I talk to them about these bio people, a lot of times I use the word safe. Like, that's not a situation where we're safe in. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not safe with our feelings. Like, how we feel may not be, if you don't feel safe in how you feel, whatever. So now I'm learning to say, you know, like, they stupid. Yeah. In a way that is appropriate.
Yes, the appropriate way to say it.
That is child friendly.
Yes, and I think even with our children going through that, it would be good to have a topic on that later for them to talk about how it affected them.
Yeah. So and you know, when you do that, because what I've learned, especially with my girls, like, my girls now are all in their all my biological girls are now all in their late 20s, early 30s, and you have to be ready, because you hear some things that it hurts.
It don't feel good.
It does not feel good to know that you failed them in certain areas, and that they didn't feel safe or loved at certain times or important. And it is hard. It is hard, and it is hard not to be very defensive when it happens.
Because you don't feel like that's what you did or didn't do. But that does not neglect that that's how they feel.
I think it's all about, I think one of the things I always tell the kids, and I talk to everybody about it, is intention. Yes. My intentions were never ugly. Yeah, ever. They were never meant to, but then if you say, I didn't mean to, I was young, that feels like, when you say that to them, like it's an excuse. Yeah. Right? Yes. It's like, try to understand my intention. Yes. My intention was, I thought I was doing what was best at the time. Mm-hmm. I jacked it up. Yeah,
because even my kids say, like, we would have like table talk, kind of sit down and talk. You know, Jaden's 23 now and 22. How old is Jaden?
23 now.
23.
22. I got the wrong count.
Okay. 22. 22. Lord, my child is 22. Forgot. Then you have Anaja, who's getting ready to be 20 this year, you know, and the boys. So when we would sit and talk, and they would be like, okay, Mom, you yell too much. Like, I don't understand what all the yelling is for. I do. Because my mom was a yeller. Like, that's what she did. So golly, I gotta try to figure out.
We had to reset the camera, guys. Yes. So now we've lost our train of thought. So.
But most definitely, I think learning about our family has been amazing, and of course we can't go into everything.
No, this is going to be probably one of the things we talk about. We are going to have to, again, I think we mentioned this in one of our lives or something. We have like so many we got learning curves. Yes, we got learning curves. So as we go through these episodes, we're going to be deciding just kind of figuring out how we need to do it. So maybe we need to do bullet points and be very specific, because when we say family, we were like, oh my God, there's so many. There are parental relationships, our relationships with our children, like you said, our siblings. It's kind of hard to touch on all of it. So maybe we need to break that down. So I think if you guys are coming to watch us, you're gonna come and see like what we have to say. So these are gonna be ongoing conversations,
and I'm sure it'll come back up again. So the last thing I kind of want us to touch on is we already talked about the fact that I was divorced. Jaden's dad is not in her life, has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
That's right. So, on him. She can't say it, but I'm going to tell you it's on him. That's that problem.
But she's amazing.
She is. She's amazing.
She's amazing. She's a mess, but she's amazing.
She's an amazing mess. She's like, oh, it's crazy because we talk about this all the time. It's like she's me in my 20s.
Yes.
Like I look at her and some of the things she say, I'll be like, girl,
and she's still right now be like, I'm sorry, I gotta agree with that.
I gotta agree with that. It makes sense to me. She is like she's like me.
And I have a blended family. Mm-hmm. I've been married for 15 years. It'll be 16 in December. We've been together for 17, 18 years in May. So I have a blended family. I have Anijah, who is amazing. She is a mess too, but she's amazing. I love her. We'll talk about that later. That was a whole transition.
Yeah.
I spent plenty of time at her house like, I don't know. Love her. My boys are amazing. I am. We talked about Kendall. She's my god baby. I have a couple of godchildren. Kendall, DJ, and London, my niece, is my goddaughter as well. But Kendall literally was my first baby. Like, she was here all the time. Constantly.
Big brown eyes.
Yes,
love
all
it.
the time. So being blended and bringing those that you love into your family does not always have to be blood.
No.
I will stand on that. And sometimes families that are not blood are closer to you.
Yeah.
And will be better to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes than the ones that
Because I know with mine, in a sense, mine is blended just because I have the 5 biological children and I have my 5 babies who are all adopted.
Exactly.
The older 3 boys are biologically related to me, and the 2 younger siblings, they all share the same mom, but they all have, different sets of dads or whatever. And that was one of the things someone said to me during the opera, well, why would you get those 2? Those 2 aren't ours. And my response were they're theirs.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They're all together. They're siblings. Yeah. So even though the youngest 2 are not blood related to me, we're still all blended. So our family is crazy. It's one of those things y'all get to see, because if I wasn't mom, I'd be Aunt Kim.
Yeah.
And if Sister Kaya wasn't Sister Kaya, I'd be Cousin Kaya. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And now the kids who are their cousins are so the boys are my 5 are actually my grandchildren's aunts, uncles and aunts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But prior to adoption, they'd be cousins.
Yeah.
So it's all crazy
like
weird at this point. Like, they'd be second or third cousins, but now they're their uncles.
Yeah.
And I told them to call them their cunkles. So they're their cousin uncles. So so mine is blended in a sense too, because there are a lot of different dynamics.
It's a lot of work when you're blending families in whatever magnitude. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Because then you have all these outside factors that you have no control of. Children's parents, children's grandparents, children's whatever. It just changes things. So family is like the best.
And she's my family.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. I count my best friends as my sisters. Yeah, they're my sisters. They're my kids. Like I'm not mom's friend Kim. I'm Aunt Kim, right? And when you show up, Aunt Shay, so we're family at this point. They'll be 30 years old and they'll be like, what do you mean we're not like related?
Yeah.
Like, we are related. Like that's
like her adult children were little bitty.
Yeah.
So what we say, like 25 years?
25 years. I think we rounded out about 25 years.
And that's a long time to have somebody in your life. It's a blessing to be able to keep somebody in your life that long. So my best friends most definitely are my family, and I would do anything for them. So we just hope that you all get something out of this. And
Yes.
again, we'll touch bases on different parts of it later.
Questions. Remember, we've been getting some comments on
Yes.
our page, our
YouTube.
our YouTube videos. So continue that kind of. You can add in some more things because again, at some point in time, we want to do a question and answer episode. So we'll need some actual questions and not just comments about how cute I am. Like, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, some questions, some answers. We'll talk about
We'll
that.
talk about it for sure.
Yeah.
We're even so it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok.
Yeah, we're
So,
trying to figure out how to get all these
yeah.
different media platforms working to generate, you know, an audience. Because
What is going on?
girl, Snow is over there. So I have a dog. She's like 15 years old. She over there scratching her behind on the windowsill.
Oh, is that what she doing?
Yeah,
I
she's
was like,
scratching her
what?
butt.
Is she passing out or something?
Like a butt scratch. So when nobody scratches her little hind tail, she scratches her hind leg on the window. So that's what that is. So, but yeah, that's what we are today.
Yes.
So that's our introduction to family.
To family.
There'll be
yes.
more, lots more.
Yes,
It
we'll
gets deep.
bring some family in, maybe talk a little bit more to our initial family. And again, we're letting you into our lives. So
Walk through the door with us. Let's go.
see you soon.
All
Bye.
right, bye. And drink that drink, girl.
It's amazing.
Mine is always gone.